open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to Kentucky's Voice, the only live program in the state of Kentucky that deals with news and politics from a conservative perspective. And I'm your host today, one of your hosts today, Tom Fallbush, and we have also Debbie Robbins and Bob Scott, Buffalo Bob, who just came back from Montana, spent 2 weeks out there, hunting buffalo, and it was great. So it was.
I didn't get any, but I did see a bear while I was out there, and
awesome.
Mountain goats and mule deer. So it was a very, didn't hunt any of them, but it was a worthwhile trip.
And they were all carrying American flags. Yes.
Well, I tell you, when God was doing his creation, he had a special place in his heart for Montana. If you never have been there, we went to Glacier National Park, and it now has become, we've been to several national parks in my lifetime. It by far has become my favorite national park. We went on the Going to the Sun Road. And if you've never been on that, that's an experience too. Literally clings along the side of a mountain along the Continental Divide. And just everything was breathtaking and spectacular. Of course, we were going out there to visit our oldest son, who's in the United States Air Force station out there. And we hate Montana so much. This is only our third trip out there in the last 18 months.
Yeah,
so
I tell you, it is God's country.
It's a good place, and I sound like I'm a walking billboard from Montana.
No.
But I do feel that strongly about how
a lot of people, in Kentucky, they go to on vacation to Florida, right? That's the kind of But I'm learning the better trip is actually to go out west because it's not as hot, it's not as humid. And there's so much to see out there. I mean, the West is just a giant playground for America. I mean, if you haven't been out west of the Mississippi, go. I mean, just any direction.
It's funny because
any direction.
Growing up, my oldest son constantly was trying to get us to go out west for vacation. And guess where we always went? Florida. And don't get me wrong, I love the beach. I mean, I absolutely love the beach.
Yeah, the beach is great.
Florida. But he got his wish with regard to his first duty station being at Great Falls, Montana. And he's made us fans too. We were talking and having a good laugh about that over the 4th, or really on the 4th of July. He had a little cookout for us there at his place. And it's just, again, it's a blessing. I like really those 3 states I mentioned, of course, obviously Kentucky, Florida and Montana are definitely in my top 3.
Well, we have some audio of some of your adventures out there. I was going to play that real quick, and so, Mr. Producer, if you can bring that up. Bob participated in some buffalo hunts, and so. But while that is up, we are going to do a land acknowledgement. Because that is a popular thing to do now. And so, Kentucky's Voice, we are going to acknowledge that Kentucky was land that was settled by European American settlers that came in and created the place. They basically showed up at an empty country and built their cabins and built their families and established this great country we know as America. And that's our land acknowledgement. Bob, thanks for bringing this audio back of your trip out there.
PSA,
awesome.
public service announcement.
That was awesome.
For a land acknowledgement.
There we go. And I want some buffalo jerky. And so, all right. So we are going to also talk about Mitch McConnell today, okay? Because, if you haven't paid attention to the news, Mitch is like where is he? I mean, is he sick? Is he dead? Is he going to come back? Is he going to resign? I mean, it is the talk, and the reason it's the talk of the news is because the SAVE Act, really, he's one of the key senators that are blocking the SAVE Act that could save this country, and so so the thought is if he can get out. If he could just resign, I mean, nobody wants him to die, right? I mean, he's a human being. He's got a great legacy on some issues, but lately he's got TDS. Maybe he's dying of TDS. I don't know, but anyway, he's got TDS right now. But we need to get him out. And if we can do it by August 3rd, we can have a special election, get somebody else in there, probably Andy Barr, who would probably vote for the SAVE Act, and maybe we have a chance of passing this thing. So we need to push this. We're going to talk more about this. We want to hear about your thoughts on that, 502-571-0970. Also, if you have a land acknowledgement, go ahead and call or text us. We want to hear that. We'll be right back. Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org. All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we're talking, first of all, we're talking Montana, which is always fun to talk about, but really this is a political show, so we're going to talk about politics, and we're going to talk about Senator Mitch McConnell, who apparently is in the hospital or recovering from something. I think the story goes about 2 weeks ago, he was... He was rushed to the hospital.
Actually, longer than that.
Longer than that, 3 weeks ago.
It's really
4 weeks
long
ago.
now.
Yeah, rushed to the hospital and with some sort of ailment, and so he's been kind of missing in action for the past few weeks. So then Scott Jennings, who, if you know who Scott Jennings is, he's a pundit on CNN. He has apparently had he also worked for McConnell, right? So he knows McConnell, and so he apparently had a 20-minute conversation with him a couple of days ago, saying that. Or yesterday, even saying that I've talked to him for 20 minutes. He was alive. He was awake, and
he's engaged with the Senate leaders and on and on. And
but if that's the case, come on, call in this show. This is Kentucky's Voice. Hello, come on, call in this show and just do a proof of life.
Right.
And it's people are really concerned, and like I said, the reason they're concerned is because if he did resign, we could get a special election and maybe get the SAVE Act passed in this current session before the next for this midterm is started. So anyway, Bob, what are your thoughts on this? I'm going to play some audio from President Trump and also a letter from Andy Beshear. And there's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
My thoughts is I really want to hear from our viewers and listeners, and you can do so by calling or texting at 502-571-0970. Again, that text line number is 502-571-0970. And we really do want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Is Mitch alive? It's sort of like the Where's Waldo caricature, if you will. And
should he resign? Should he resign?
And should he resign? I do believe Scott Jennings. I mean, he's highly reputable. He's a Kentuckian, and not that all Kentuckians are necessarily reputable, but I do admire him and respect him. So I do believe he had that conversation with him. But obviously, he's been nowhere seen or heard with regard to public viewing, and certainly not in the Senate. So we'd like to hear your thoughts on it, folks.
What I have to say, too, is that I personally have contacted his office many times over the past several months, as I know hundreds of thousands of Kentuckians or Americans in general have on the Save America Act. And you know what? He used to have the most efficiently run office
Yeah,
It was
I'd agree with that.
amazing. Yeah. And now we just don't hear anything. Or I get a response that's kind of a canned response. But I actually did communicate with someone a little over a week ago, and I said, it's really sad because you all do not communicate anymore. And it's it's our right as citizens. I don't have a right maybe to know everything about his medical condition. I want people to be protected, but we do have a right to have regular updates from
All
someone
right.
when we are in such a critical time in our nation. But even in general, as you know, he's an elected official. We
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to hear from you. And I don't
He's our
even think our
United
local
States
party,
senator, and there's
I
important
don't even think our local
legislation that's-
party knows, or any of the
Yeah.
local parties. Maybe the state Republicans do, but nobody on the local level has been contacted to say, "Oh, he's okay. Don't worry."
That's right.
We don't know.
That's right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, our party spent, 4 years blaming the Democrat Party for hiding Biden's failing health.
Right.
And here, I'm getting a feeling that the staff around McConnell is doing the same thing. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it just feels like it, right? So there's been call after call after call about, hey, give us an update. What's going on? Mr. Producer, pull this up. This is from the governor, a Democrat, of course, Andy Beshear, but he did, said allowing speculation to continue in the media is not fair to the senator or to Kentuckians. And my hope is that this provides him the opportunity to share information in a transparent manner direct from the source. He also had he basically wrote a letter saying, hey, we were asking you as the governor to give us an update. It's just not fair. That's, for once, I agree with Andy Beshear. Hello.
Is that what prompted him to finally give an update through Scott Jennings or whomever?
Yeah.
I don't even know if the office gave something specific. Just Scott Jennings did.
Yeah.
Came out and said, I mean, maybe I've missed it in the news, but it's just it's not like him. Regardless of what people feel or think about him, he's always been a very responsible and very responsive senator. But on this, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed on many levels because we need the Save America Act passed. That is critical. And now
And
the
he's blocking
birthright
it.
citizenship. We have so many things hanging that it's outrageous that our Republican Senate and Republican House have not produced. I give the House credit, they have,
That's
but
right.
not the Senate.
Yeah, John Thune. It's just I'm just so sickened by him. Yesterday on Air Force One, President Trump was asked about McConnell. We'll play that real quick, Mr. Producer, if you want to pull that up. So here we go.
No, I have no idea. I have no idea how he's doing. At the beginning of
There we go. He has no idea. So the President of the United States doesn't even know the status of Mitch McConnell's health. I mean, and he's the head of the party, you know? I mean, hello. I mean, so it's
It reminds me of that Secretary of War, right, Bob? Was that the Secretary of War, that African-American gentleman under Biden? Remember when he went to the hospital and we didn't know anything about that? Do you remember that, you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. Yep, he sure did. He's got to hit away. So I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts as a listener. Should Mitch McConnell resign, even if he is in decent health or starting to recover, or even maybe could do his job in some quasi-functional way? Maybe he should still retire, because when you're when your health is that poor and you're representing a state, as a U.S. senator. And you are obviously impaired, at least physically. For years you've seen his mental decline. I mean, if you haven't seen it, if you should do this, Google Mitch McConnell's falling over or just freezing. He's basically having some issues with just aging. God bless him. It's going to happen to us all on some level. But that's not that's fine. We appreciate his legacy and who he is, but there's a point where you still have a job to do. You still represent us, right? And you still have to get up there and function as a senator. And so if you can't physically do that, you should do the right thing and resign. That's just appropriate and a fair thing to ask. And so
it is. And because he's not just representing Kentucky, his decisions are impacting the nation.
That's right.
It's not, homegrown anymore.
100%. Yeah. So I'm trying to find the Scott Jennings clip. But Bob, keep going. We need a really good war rant, Native American war rant from Buffalo Bob about Mitch McConnell.
Well, yeah, amen. And I tell you, I've said it many times. We continue to be at a turning point in our nation. Let's face it. Any honest person, Republican or Democrat, would say that Senator McConnell has not been in the best of health for many years. It's not like this is just a sudden thing that's happened, but certainly over the last 2 years, it's really been amplified, and it is time. I mean, obviously, he chose not to run again. Thank God.
But we had to drag that out of him. We had to absolutely drag
and
that
right.
decision.
And sadly, he's not the only one. There's several other very old people that in the Senate and the House that have no business being there, but yet they are. That has served, and that's why a thing called term limits. That a lot of them had promised and ran on that to help get elected. Suddenly did an about face once they achieved power.
Right.
So I don't know. There's not an easy answer to it. Please call or text us. We do want to hear from you because your thoughts and comments are critical, to directionally. 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. You're listening to Kentucky's Voice. We're your voice, to be magnified. There is no other voice in Kentucky that's conservative and Christian like Kentucky's Voice. There's no other ones, so now's your opportunity to vent and make your feelings known, as we find ourselves and our nation finds itself in a situation. We're coming up on midterms. It's literally just around the corner. We'd like to hear your thoughts about that,
and our Congress is coming back in session next Monday. And we need them to absolutely do something with not only the Save America Act, but so we don't have another budget shut down the government episode coming up again. We just can't do this anymore. We've hired these people to do a job, and they need to do a job. And if they're not going to do it, you've got to resign, or we've got to vote them out. We have to make it too big to rig. We have to absolutely be engaged. We must understand the issues and what's going on and realize everything that happens absolutely impacts our lives. And so again, I know I bring up my pastor, Bob Russell, a lot, but I remember when he retired from Southeast Christian Church, he had been there for 40 years, which is a long time. And he could have stayed as long as he wanted. But he told us, he gave us a transition period, actually, prior to that, a 7-year transition that he had planned for prior to being there for 40 years. So at 33 years, he did that. And that was brilliant. And it was so wonderful the way he did it. And then he stepped away. Now, our elections are different. We get to vote. And a lot of it's in our hands if we absolutely demand the Save America Act so we can get our integrity back in our elections. But then we must stay engaged as citizens because it's just as important as paying your rent, all the things you have to take care of for your family. What happens in government affects you and me and all of us every single day, and our faith and our freedom.
That's right.
So please contact us again, guys.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Yeah, give us a text. Also, we're going to encourage you to call Mitch McConnell's office and to let him know your thoughts on this. If he should resign, call and tell him he should resign. At the end of the day, Kentucky's voice needs to be heard.
to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We're talking about Mitch McConnell. And if you live in Kentucky, or even if you don't live in Kentucky, you kind of know who Mitch McConnell is. He's been around since 1985 as a senator, 1985, right? And so I was 11 years old. I'm now 55 years old. So that's a long time. And so actually I was 9 years old. What am I thinking? I was younger than that. So we've got to deal with this issue. His health is failing. He was AWOL for 3 months or 3 weeks. Finally, he came out of the woodwork yesterday. Matter of fact, we're going to play this clip right now. This is Scott Jennings, Louisville's own Scott Jennings, who's a very well-known commentator now on CNN. Used to work for Mitch McConnell. And this is him describing his conversation with Mitch McConnell yesterday.
Yeah, he called me this morning before I did my radio show. We talked for about 17 minutes. He talked a lot about the situation with Iran, talked a little bit about Ukraine and what's going on in Europe. I told him I'd been to the Teddy Roosevelt Library. We talked a little bit about the history of the vice presidency and how Roosevelt had transformed that in the modern presidency, a little history of the Senate. I mean, it was a wide-ranging conversation. I talked to him often. I hadn't talked to him since he'd been in. I'd gotten a few text messages from him, but I hadn't spoken to him. So it was good to hear his voice. Voice sounded strong and sounded like he was keeping up with the news to me.
Did you ask him how he was feeling?
Yeah, he said he was feeling okay, obviously well enough to call me on the phone and obviously well enough to talk to Barrasso and Thune. Now, look, I'm not qualified to discuss any medical issues or give you any information about that. That's really for him or his staff to do. But, I talk to him from time to time, and I see him from time to time. And, we had a conversation today about the things that we normally talk about, which are news of the day, political stuff.
Did you come away feeling like he's still capable of serving the people of Kentucky as senator?
I came away feeling that he was staying on top of the news. Again, look, his condition and why he's in the hospital or when he might come out or look, that's.
Do you know why, and are just saying it's not at liberty to share?
I do not know why. I only know, frankly, what has been reported or what his office has said. So it was a personal, private call, but I didn't probe him too deeply for his medical records.
All right, there we go. So. He found Mitch McConnell. I mean, we've been on the hunt for Mitch McConnell for 3 weeks, and Scott Jennings found him. So,
right.
So Buffalo Bob. I mean, I don't know. You probably couldn't have done.
He did a nice Indian dance.
He did. He absolutely did. He absolutely did. So anyway, so what do you think, guys? I mean, is that enough? I mean, it seems like we need him to call into a show or something. I want to hear his voice. I want to hear if he's still cogent enough to actually carry a conversation. So. Call into a program. Call into our show. I mean, hello. We'll text us at least. I don't know. But Debbie,
I'm just so. It's sad because I'm very involved in the local Republican community, and we all are frustrated. We love him. We respect many of the things that he's done for our state, whether people want to believe it or not, nationwide. He has done some great things. But in the past 4 to 5 years, well, ever since President Trump, actually the decade, when President Trump came on the scene, we've seen a different Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
And it's been very disheartening, frustrating, confusing. And at this point, any person... my father is 92 years old. I actually speak to him every time I'm on my way to the studio. He watches our show from Georgia.
That's awesome.
And he's 92, and he's sharp as a tack. And it was really hard for my dad to make a decision to let go of his business. He was an entrepreneur. He didn't sell it till his mid-80s, okay? That's how my dad was. But he really knew, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to transition. We have this talk all the time. Hey, what can you do that's purposeful now within your ability level? You never ever want to not serve or not do, but you've got to know when the time is to step aside. And I just think that Senator McConnell has ignored that, and people around him are allowing him to ignore that, and it's to the detriment of our nation. It's different. Some people are different. Look at President Trump. He is 80 and sharp as a tack and fully can do the job. And there are other people that are like that. But it just depends on the person and your body and your health. And I just respectfully wish that he would consider to step aside, because this is just too important of a time in our country. It would be a wonderful thing for him to step aside.
Yeah. That's right. So
That's my humble opinion.
that's right. And so anyway, so okay, we're going to table that, but we are going to ask people to call his office, and there is a phone number. If my computer just froze, I had a number I was going to pull up, but it froze. So
We'll get it to him in a second. Yeah.
yeah,
we'll
it's
get it in a minute.
202-224 something in DC, but call or call his local office. He's got like 6 offices here in
Mm-hmm. Right.
Kentucky,
Kentucky.
and then of course the DC office. But just call him and let him know your thoughts on this. I mean, should he resign?
Well, that phone number, I'll give it to you real
Yeah, please,
quick.
thank
you.
It's
Oh, good.
202-224-2541. Again, Senator McConnell.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, Senator McConnell's number is 202-224-2541.
Mr. Producer, pull it up here. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, there we go.
Right.
I'll
And
give
Bob, you were mentioning too, segueing on that, Tom, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
that hopefully we dodged a bullet with keeping a socialist out of the Senate
Yeah.
by the name of Graham Plattner from the state of Maine.
That's right.
But who knows who's going to be nominated from the Democratic Party in the state of Maine. They still have a lot of socialists with chomping at the bit to get on the ballot on the Democrat ticket. So, Bob, what do you think about that? What happened?
Well, there's only been one that the ultimate socialist insider, Bernie Sanders, has endorsed. His name eludes me, but I'm 100% sure he will be one of the names that'll be tossed around. I think as a whole, the Democrat Party is not happy, with the absolute kidnapping of their party.
right.
That's happened with the extreme left lurch that you've seen happen. So,
But
I
they
don't know.
sure have been
That
sitting
party,
on
I'm not-
their hands, haven't they?
Well, they have, and have supported him, and a lot of them had already endorsed Plattner, in the Senate race before the final, and he'd already had accusations, but they were coming from, I think, a lot of them coming from conservatives, so they weren't taking that seriously. It really took one of them, a female Democrat supporter, to come out and speak out and said, "Hey, this guy raped me."
Goodness.
For them finally to take action. So that's how pathetic it is right now
It's just
with
sad.
regard to that party. And so they're going to have to do something. I mean, they have allowed the socialists, the communists to come in, and I don't think it's a majority. I'll say that very quickly.
Yeah, but it's the energetic
but they've
minority.
seized power.
Yeah, it's
pure and
the-
simple.
It's the dynamic minority within the party. That's where the energy and the strength is on that far, far left, on the communist left. And that's a real concern because we already have a mayor of New York who's outright communist, who's now the mayor of New York. They're like the seat of capitalism in the world, New York City. We have a communist mayor.
And he's
so,
Muslim.
and he's Muslim on top of that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a real problem in America. I mean, you go, what about religious freedom? Whatever. Well, I'm sorry. This is a Christian country, and Islam does just not really work in America. It just doesn't, because it's a political system beyond just a religion, and so it runs counter to what America.
And
about.
we only have 100 senators, Tom and Bob. 100 people that get to represent 250 million Americans. That's a very, very prestigious.
Yeah.
Should be someone of the highest moral character and someone who has integrity and common sense and knows how to read the room. I love using your phrase all the time. And because it's so critical to have great leadership.
But we got about a
there.
minute left. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this. Why is the communist left getting traction in the Democratic Party? What is going on there? What is, I've got my opinions, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts. We got like in 20 seconds or less. What's going on?
Gosh, I really don't know. Just godlessness. We've had a generation of godlessness. That's what I think. What do
Okay.
you say, Bob?
Bob?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. It's we've kicked God out of our society, out of our institutions, and consequently, here we are right now.
You're right, because communism is it's a political religion. At the end of the day, so if you don't have a religion, you end up with an alternative religion. But speaking of Kentucky, this is our out music for this segment. So Buffalo Bob, we appreciate your input, and but like I said, land acknowledgement. This is Kentucky, settled by settlers, by Kentuckians, and we acknowledge that's the truth. We'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we're talking about the Democratic Party and socialism and communism taking over the party, and that's where the energy is, and you know, we got here in this state, we've got Charles Booker, right, who's going to run for Senate on the Democratic side, and he's practically a Democratic socialist if he isn't declared one, and so we've got an issue here. We've got socialism and communism rearing its ugly head in American politics at a time where America just spent its blood and treasure for 40 to 50 years fighting that system. And I think part of it is a lot of young people who were born since the end of the Cold War were never taught about the evil of communism. They didn't experience jumping under their tables with a nuclear drill in their classroom and getting freaked out and having nightmares about the end of the world. Like I did, right?
I did too.
When I was a child, it's like, what are we going under? Because there might be a nuclear bomb that might go off and destroy the whole city. So you need to, this little desk is going to protect you. It's like, what's that about? It's the communist. I don't like communism, And so people we kind of got it at a real gut level back then because we had an enemy that was trying to kill us at the end of the day. They wanted to dominate the world and subjugate us. And people have forgotten that, and our education system has not taught the truth of that. You ask the average young person, what is a gulag? You know what a gulag is? What's that? I don't know. Is that a food? No, it's called a prison, a communist prison, that if you disagree with the communists, you were put in prison for the rest of your life. Right. And so it's one of the great struggles, probably it's a bigger struggle than the struggle in World War II, with the Nazis, right? Because this lasted longer. And we had more wars associated with it. It was, and we just don't teach it, And so that's why we got a bunch of kids that are just. But let me say this: they're ignorant, but they're also, they have a point because the economy has not treated them well,
right?
And so young people cannot get a house. It's like 38 before you can buy a house these days,
right?
And that's the average age. And so they're looking
around.
And
your kids are halfway grown.
That's right. They're looking around going, "This is capitalism. Kind of maybe that socialism stuff makes more sense." So. But we don't really have a totally free market. We have a government manipulated market, and so we need to fix the economy as well. And Trump's doing that. But anyway.
I know, and I am one of those. The more inward we are as a country and trying to solve issues, is perfectly fine with me. But I also know the president, like you said, he is mashing world issues as well. I mean, as we speak today on this beautiful July. Is it the 9th today? July 9th? He's mashing Iran because the ceasefire's over. The Iranians are just crazy.
Which is disrupting the economy.
Let's it's interrupting our economy again, but I want him to get it over with and be done with it once and for all.
Yep.
Stand firm and do that. And, we have, we want to bring up another issue right now too, Tom, and you were talking about it at the break. The Supreme Court on June the 30th brought out the decision on birthright citizenship, 5-4 decision, saying that they were going to keep it and they were going to not, try to reinterpret the 14th Amendment. Well, that has just caused a big firestorm. It was already going on,
right.
But we have had, did you know that we've had doctors and just illegal situations going on with medical communities all across the border, the southern border, where they allow women to come in and have their babies. And look, if you're watching us on TV, you can see this. Go to Truth Social also, President Trump's his truth post about this, of women coming over the border, being offered, good prices to be able to have their babies here so that they can suddenly become citizens and then they get to go back home. So whether they come over from China and then they go back home and they're quote citizens and they raise them up and then they bring them over here and they bring their communism and they want to kill us, like you said.
Okay.
So
let's
break it down.
Let's just break this down. Pull that back up. So this is a billboard in Texas advertising birth packages. So birth packages in South Texas. And first of all, there's the original version is in Spanish, right? And
right.
And it is saying they say here's the cost. It's $4,000 to have a baby in Texas. And so the name of the website is havemybabyintexas.com. Oh my gosh. I'm just kind of blown away. So just the brazenness of this, of taking advantage of our system. Of course, now the Supreme Court's ruled on it. It's totally legal. And so this is the result of that. So we're basically asking the rest of the world to come in and game our system. And just American citizenship means nothing now. If this is true, if this is the law of the land, what value is it? It's
Right.
it's like it's either something or it's nothing. It's like whatever. I'm sorry, I can go off on this.
Oh, I know. And the president came out yesterday saying, Supreme Court, we want you to rehear this immediately because this cannot stand. You don't get to buy citizenship.
That's right.
I mean, when Bob has a son who's serving our country and he's going to go overseas and risk his life if he gets called to go.
Yeah.
And for what?
Right.
For people that come in and upend us?
Right.
What do you say about that, Bob?
No, that's right. I mean, I've been against birthright citizenship ever since I was old enough to understand what it was and how it's being abused in our country. And it's the usual suspects on the Supreme Court, supposedly conservatives, John Roberts in particular, who a lot of my ire goes against.
Yeah.
And I still think that guy's compromised, but that's a different discussion.
Right.
With regard to it, he was the deciding vote on Obamacare, if you want to go back to that.
Right.
Right.
But he was the driving force, and Amy Coney Barrett is another one that's in many
Right.
respects. I mean,
With her
she's had
adopted
some-
Haitian children, that's
Right.
She basically said that. That's
It's-
why I voted this way, because I have adopted Haitian children. Well, okay, so we all have to pay that price because of your
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah, and it's
insane.
it's not. We all know that wasn't the original intent of the law, but of course, it's been bastardized and turned into something that's being used against the citizens of the United States of America.
Bob, the proof of what you just said there is when they wrote that law, that they specifically said, here's the people that this does not count for, that this does not work for. And one of those categories were your friends you just met in Montana, Native Americans, right? Native Americans, if they had children.
When the founders wrote that. you mean?
Exactly right. Yeah,
Yes,
the people
right.
that wrote this law,
Right.
they wrote this amendment. They said that here are a group of people that this does not count for. If you're a Native American and they have a child, that does not make them automatically a citizen of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew that there were parameters for this that was very specific. It was for basically people that had already been established here, like basically slaves that were being freed. And that's what it really was focused on. It wasn't focused on just the entire world coming in. And so much so that they included the Native American as a specific category of someone that this does not account for.
Well, and here's the deal too. We have to remember the 14th Amendment didn't pass until basically as far as it being ratified.
Yeah,
July
it wasn't
9th,
the founders. Sorry, it was after the Civil
1868.
War. Right.
Yeah, right. Right.
In the aftermath of the Civil War.
Right.
So really,
That's true. And
it honestly had absolutely nothing to do with the founders of our country. It was passed along basically 100 years later to a nation that was in turmoil with regard to what happened in the Civil War. And again, trying to, truthfully, the whole purpose of it was to protect people that had been enslaved and give them the opportunity to become Americans. That was the whole idea behind it, and so it's disgusting again what it's turned out to be and what we're dealing with today.
Yeah.
It's really, really scary. And, the thing is, our Congress, that's another issue when they get back next week. We already have congressmen and even senators that are wanting to put forth bills that are going to help, short of doing an amendment, a constitutional amendment, which is precarious because we have such a divided country on opinion. You have to get 38 states to ratify that, right, Tom?
That's right.
So, but they're going to do everything they can via the law. But that's another issue again, getting back to Senator McConnell. He's very sensitive about this. The Save America Act, anything to do with birthright citizenship, anyone that, and I love his beautiful wife, and she was not born here. She's Chinese. Well, she was born here, I think, or I don't remember if she was brought here or born here.
Right.
But nonetheless, she is an American. But he's very sensitive to this. And if Amy Coney Barrett is also because she adopted children from Haiti, so be it. but
That's
you do
right.
not get to jeopardize the American culture,
That's right.
our founding, like even someone had, showed what Bob, you sent us this morning. What was that peace treaty, our Paris peace treaty over the Revolutionary War, and how it talked about that, we are a nation that is founded under the power of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Mhm.
You sent that to
That's
us
right.
this morning. That was a great piece of
Yeah.
that document. I am just sick and tired of our Christian
Well, yeah, and
culture
that-
being
the-
destroyed. I'm
the
The
tired
whole
of
purpose
it.
of that was to really show that we were founded as a Christian nation.
Right.
And there was reference as far as the peace treaty that was signed, ratified, and agreed to that brought peace between Great Britain and the United States. It signed that established that America is a Christian nation, and they referred specifically to the Trinity.
Right.
In that. So that's where the leftists and the people that are atheists and all those who hate any mention of God are completely wrong with regard to that. We were established, in fact, as a Christian nation.
That's right. Yeah, and at the end of the day, this country is not a charity for the world, right?
Right.
This people that live in other countries do not have a right to be here and right to take advantage of the benefits that our forefathers fought for and built this country and created it for. And you know who they created it for? Us. They created for their posterity. That's actually
Right.
in the Constitution. We do this for our for ourselves and our posterity. That's so not for the rest of the world, right? And so and that's why folks that are overly sympathetic to the immigration issue are missing the boat because immigration should benefit the people that live here, and if it doesn't benefit us, then you shut it off. People do not deserve. Like I said, this is not a welfare system for the world, and so, and that's that. But at this point, people think that America, we're somehow guilty, or that's just what we're designed for. We're designed to kind of save the world, and people are supposed to come here and live in this
can't do
economic
it.
zone, and that's ridiculous. That's just not. It's not
Which
what this
is why, Tom, our elected officials are so important.
That's right.
And
yeah.
who they are.
And McConnell needs to resign.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly right. And we get it, sir. You had a good career. We appreciate a lot of the good things you've done, but you need to, just for the sake of everybody, resign. And so let's get this SAVE Act passed. We'll be right back here on Kentucky's Voice.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Okay, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We're talking quite a few different topics today. Mitch McConnell, primarily, he needs to resign. He's obviously too sick and to serve, and the fact that he can't call into a TV show or I mean, I get it. If you don't want to be on camera, maybe your face is all puffed up or something. Who knows? But you can at least call and talk to somebody. And we need a proof of life, Senator. And this is listen. You live in Louisville. You live right here. This is our home. This is your hometown. And so these are people in Louisville that are concerned about the future of the state and this country and you, quite frankly. And so I think you owe us more than what you've given us here in the past few weeks. This national speculation of your health and your future is just it's just odd. It's inappropriate, and you know it. Your staff knows it. Everybody around you knows it, and it needs to be dealt with. And to be honest, if people actually, I think if they had an honest view of your health and your condition, they would have concerns about your ability to probably operate your office. And if that's the case, then do the right thing. And listen, it is the right thing because there's going to be a special election called, and more than likely you're going to have a Republican replace you. The legislature and this, the laws in the state have been reframed to help this transition and protect it and make sure that it's a conservative Republican seat. So there's no risk of you resigning and this falling to a Democrat or something. So you should go ahead and do this for the good of your own health, good of the country, good of the state, and that's an honest appeal to somebody that really appreciates your legacy. Listen, we wouldn't have Roe v. Wade overturned without you. We wouldn't have won the Cold War with people like you, right? And so we understand who you are, your legacy, what you've done. The Trump era, we can disagree on that, but right now we think you need to go ahead and resign and go ahead and just do the right thing. And let somebody else get in there in time to vote for the SAVE Act that you maybe have an objection to, but sorry, we all have differences of opinions for reasons. So
right.
Anyway, guys.
Right. Yeah. And Bob has been giving us a lot of great information the past couple of days on a lot of these topics, and we really appreciate it. And and our Mr. Producer Man Dan reminded me that we've promised to keep these names and faces up in front. These are our Metro Council people, because we're getting back down to local government, because all politics is local. You want to vote the man, the woman on the local level so that you get great people that if they go to the state or they go to the national, we know their character. So we have all these districts are up. Our goal is to take away 3 seats from Democrats, to hold seats. Some of these people we need to hold. You see it says incumbent. And then others we need to flip. We need to flip District 7, vote for Kat Timmerman. District 17, vote for Nancy Lynn Walters. District 21, vote for Lonnie Joseph. And then those others, please keep them. We want to keep those seats. And they're critically important. And we have so many things. I just want to say to everybody out there, please look around for these people. Look for their candidacies. Look for their campaigns out there. Help them. Go walk neighborhoods with them. Support them if you can financially. It costs a lot of money to run a campaign. And you don't get to write it off on taxes, because this is our government. This is us investing in ourselves, investing in America. So if you can help them either with time, talent, or treasure, that would be amazing. I want to throw out one more event for you on August the 26th, the Jefferson County Republican Party, one of their biggest fundraising events for the party, where we do support these Metro Council people. We support different elections to help them. This is our big fundraiser. We're actually having a lady in by the name of Alina Fernandez. Tom and Bob, you're going to flip out. She is the daughter of Fidel Castro. What? And talk about wanting to overcome communism and socialism. She's a lady who wants us to know she's an American citizen now and fled years and years ago. And our 3rd District Congress candidate is a lady named Maria Rodriguez, and she is also Cuban-born but had been American for a long time and took many, many years to get here legally. Loves this country deeply. those of you that love Reverend Bob Russell, he will be speaking on why he loves America. We will also have James Comer, Brett Guthrie, and Andy Barr, who's our Senate candidate, that will be speaking that night. And it'll be a wonderful dinner at the Galt House, and the Sons of the American Revolution are going to come in with a phenomenal presentation reminding us of America 250. So it's a great event, August 26th, the Galt House. Look up Louisville GOP. And Tom, I think, isn't there another great Christian event, faith event? What's going on?
It's TPUSA. Yeah, the TPUSA is coming to Louisville at Evangel World Prayer Center. Well, Mr. Producer, if you can put this up on the screen, it's called the Make Heaven Crowded Tour, and it's happening July 17th. And so we want to see you there. And but anyway, okay, that's enough commercials and enough announcements. So back to just radical opinions here. And so back to I'll just finish this up with McConnell. You need to resign. Bob, do you have any thoughts on that? And we'll go back to the Metro Council here in a second.
Yeah, actually, a text came in from our text line, and it says you may have already covered this, but can you talk again a little bit about how McConnell immediately his replacement would be chosen were he to resign?
Right.
And again, it's the clock's ticking on that.
Okay, let's talk through that. And if I get the details wrong, correct me. But I think the way this works, if he resigns before August 3rd, then that will trigger a special election. And
correct.
So, and I think that special election is there's no primary. I think there aren't there just candidates that are chosen by the party, I believe, or
yes, I think we.
It'd be party leadership.
The Kentucky party leadership.
I think so.
Yeah, I was just reading it the other day. The law, it all changed in 2024.
Yeah, I'll pull this up and try to get some better clarity.
It gives us the best opportunity to have a conservative to make sure conservative to conservative or Democrat to Democrat. If it was a Democrat that would held the office, it's fair for both sides.
And let me add, even that if that were to happen, and most likely it would be. The primary candidates, those who won both the Democrat and Republican primary that would get that. So it's kind of a moot point somewhat.
Yeah.
But they would only technically serve that person that would be elected to the end of the year. Whoever wins the general election in November, that will be the person that will come in, for the 6-year term. In January. So it is a little weird and convoluted. I've heard a lot of people say, well, this would be a great opportunity for Thomas Massie to come in. As much as I supported Massie, I did, I'll say it. That's now water under the bridge. And if it's left up to, in fact, party leadership, you're not going to see Thomas Massie being that person that they would choose, to run,
So to basically just accelerate the general election that's already underway, and as is my understanding, and now what would happen, though, is that person would get in office before the general election, so there's a chance that he can actually vote in a session in this current session,
right?
And so you would have the current.
That would be the big thing.
Yeah, you would get the current makeup of the current Senate, and so you could because what could happen in the midterms is that we lose the Senate, and so what if we get a Republican in this.
And we can't let that happen.
Yeah, we could lose the Senate, and the SAVE Act wouldn't be able to vote on it anyway.
That's right.
So if we can do a special election now, we can put somebody in office that could help vote for the SAVE Act.
Another reason why McConnell is not going to resign, if in fact it's true that he's still.
That's right. He's trying to run the clock out.
Yeah. He's going to run the clock out, so to speak.
To August 3rd.
But you're right. That would be the main reason. And then we'd have somebody representing us, to the end of the year. So there are reasons to do it. It costs money to put on a special election like this, but there are definitely reasons to do it.
There are, and I think, I hope this isn't the case. I hope that Senator McConnell, he knows he needs to resign, but I hope he isn't holding out that he can try to manipulate that the replacement would be of his like mind. That's not what we want. We want like-mindedness of the president and his agenda, and that may be the other fear as well.
Well, let's keep in mind, Andy Barr.
We need to pray.
Worked under him for a period of time. He was quite frankly endorsed by McConnell.
Well, what is Barr's position on the SAVE Act? What is his position on the SAVE Act? Did he say he would pass it?
I think his position is he would pass it.
I mean, he voted for it in the House so far.
Yes,
Okay,
he did do that. So I'm giving, and we would have to hold his feet to the fire on that. And, well, hey, and if he does replace McConnell this summer and he doesn't, he would lose the election this fall.
That's right. Yeah, well
Well,
said.
of
He should know that.
That's right.
and he should if he in fact did that.
Right. It's it's a game. It's this is it's so sad. That's why I'm glad that we're a Christian program. So I want to say to all the patriots and all the Christians, we need to pray. PUSH
always.
people, pray until something happens. That is the right answer.
Okay, here's
That's
the
right.
answer. Andy Barr actually voted for the SAVE Act because he's a sitting congressman, right?
Right.
So he voted for it in the House,
Yep.
and he's encouraging Mitch McConnell to move the bill to the Senate, saying it is about voter protection, not voter
Good.
suppression. So sounds like he's for it. So there we go. So Andy
Good.
Barr, I mean, it'd be great to go ahead and get him in. Because he's the front runner, he's probably going to. He's going to.
Right.
He won the primary, so he should. It would be him and Booker.
And there's
in general,
another little
so.
thing I'm gonna throw. I know we only have about a minute 40 left in the program. And our Andy Bashir and the Democrats didn't like the legislation that was passed in 2024, so they could muck it up and string it out to avoid a special runoff election.
Oh, really?
With regard to that. So
Really?
that's another caveat to this whole situation.
Oh, really? So they could challenge it legally and get a halt to the.
Well, I'm not
to the
saying
special
it
election?
legally, but the clock's ticking, and
Okay.
I think it is a legal challenge because they're saying that our Constitution for Kentucky, that they didn't like this law, but no one's challenged it so far, Tom. So, hey,
because
maybe
it used
Senator
to be the governor that would make that
Right.
choice.
But maybe Senator McConnell is going to be the wise man of the day.
Yeah.
I hope. All I'm asking for is we want transparency from him.
Yeah.
And whatever, I would just say, lay it on the table for us. Tell us the truth on everything. The reasons why. What's the moral reason why? Why aren't you doing this? Are you
Yeah.
protecting us? Just let us know.
That's right. It's obvious that you do not have your full faculties right now, either mentally or physically. So it's time to resign. Just for that reason alone. But okay, well, appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic and others. And we'll be back tomorrow, I think, with John Hodgson on the show. So
Yeah.
and we want to hear your thoughts. We're here for you. This is about your voice, not ours. And so we'll be back tomorrow on Kentucky's Voice.